Hello and welcome to the Mill. I'm your host, Dusty Crane, and this week we have a lot of Wingspan Asia news to talk, right? So Jamie, if you missed it, has already revealed the rulebook and two new things that make Wingspan Asia really interesting. Now, one of the things is in the name alone, because if you look at the Stonemaier website, it's called Wingspan Asia, whereas previous expansions were called Wingspan European expansion and Oceania expansion. Now, while Wingspan Asia is in fact a expansion for Wingspan, there's another cool thing about it that has been talked about, and that is Wingspan Asia is a standalone two-player game that is part of it. It includes Wingspan, a new mode for two players called Duet. So inside this box is everything you need to play this new two-player mode. There's a couple of player boards. Like we're gonna look. I'm gonna look off screen here at the Asia rulebook because full disclosure, I have a preview copy by way of the nesting box, and I can't talk about that yet. I'm not allowed to share my thoughts on that yet or what that entails, but in due time, next weekend, I'll go ahead and give you the whole unboxing of that, and we'll go through everything that's in there. I mean, you've seen the box itself on Gen Con, which I did an unboxing there. This is the retail copy. Almost entirely the same, except for it has Wingspan Asia content inside. So that will be a part of my unboxing, is taking a look at that. But in Wingspan Asia, there's, rulebook appendix. There's 90 bird cards, 14 bonus cards, although 3 of them are repeated from the base game with updated lists. So there will be a few cards in there that add maybe some language that had been added to those cards from the base game that have expanded, since the invent of these 3 expansions. Including the standalone Asia. There's a duet map and a flock round of end goal board, which we will talk round end goal board, and the dial for flock. Also, there's 6 new double-sided duet end around tokens. Some new duet tokens. There's another set of dice. Like I said, there's a bird feeder board, not the bird feeder itself, but a bird feeder board to lay it on top of. There's a bird tray. There's no plastic in there. 2 new player mats. And when I say new, I mean it has the standard Wingspan mat on one side and an updated, or the Oceania mat on one side, and then an updated base game board that has new art featuring Wingspan Asia, but it's the same as the base game. So you have Oceania on one side and then the base game configuration on the other. We also have 16 action cubes, 8 for each player, which are black and white. There are 30 red egg miniatures, and these, Jamie's already mentioned the eggs in the new versions of Wingspan that have been recently printed are no longer plastic. They are wood, and they look identical to what we have already, so that should be probably indistinguishable there. 81 food tokens, a reference tile, score pad, first player token, and of course a new Swift Start guide. And the Swift Start guide actually walks you through how to play duets. So that's really cool if you have if you don't have Wingspan at all, then Wingspan Asia is your first foray into Wingspan. It's really cool. It's basically, and you get all this in the rule book, so I'm not like giving anything away here, but basically it's base game Wingspan, but there's also this duet board that has a little bit of a spatial puzzle. And Jamie's mentioned his favorite part about Wingspan is when you're playing birds on the mat. I mean, that's the idea, is you're putting these birds in your sanctuary. And so what this now allows is a little bit of a spatial puzzle. So if you play a bird card, we'll say, you have a few options on the duet map. You could cover up a spot that, first of all, only one person can visit the spot according to the rules there. but you could visit one that features the habitat of the bird you just played. So if you played something into the grasslands, you could put a Duet token on the grasslands icon on the Duet board. Or you might decide that you're going to put it on the food type that you use to play that card. Or the let's see, the nest type that particular bird has. There's a number of different areas on the Duet map that correspond with information that's found on the card. So when you play it, if that bird takes, grain or a berry to play, you would then have the opportunity to play on the grain or berry in the particular habitat that you played it at, but cover up a certain spot. There's also some for like, if you zoom in real close, you can see that there's some based on wingspan, some based on whether the bird is facing left or facing right. So really kind of a cool concept. And actually the end around goal tiles are related to the Duet mode. And the couple that we see here are Duet tokens have a certain nest type. So it shows the certain nest types. Total Duet tokens on the map. So these are the kind of end round goals that tie into this new board that don't work in regular Wingspan, but do work in this Duet mode. So I would say that even though this is standalone, it's standalone Duet. It's not just base game Wingspan. There's not end around goal tiles that, necessarily translate into a base game of Wingspan. Now you might be able to work that somehow to play, or maybe even if you just take notes of what's in the base game, you could use that to play a full-blown standard version of Wingspan for 2 players. And so for one, I just think that alone is very cool that you basically, it's a nice light package, especially if you are, if you're just 2 of you playing, or if you are, maybe traveling with 2 people, that instead of having the full game of Wingspan or, the full-on nesting box, that you could just have this smaller, more compact experience. But another cool thing that, has been revealed is this flock mode, and that's kind of where this extra stuff comes in too. For as long as Wingspan has been talked about among board gamers, there's been people that are like, why does it stop at 5 players? I regularly play with 6, or I regularly play with 7, and I want this game to accommodate more. And so people would say, well, hey, I just have, I have a copy, my friend has a copy, we bring it, we have a big game, and, there's all kinds of house rules on how to accommodate more than 5 players. And ultimately, these have turned into like marathon games. These games, they take a very long time for, you to consider what's on the bird tray, what some of your opponents, or at least the ones to your left and right, are doing. Like the normal decisions that you have in Wingspan, to multiply that by the, even more players at the table, that time adds up. And so what Flock does is, there's a little dial and it points to the different player colors so that 2 players are playing simultaneously. They're playing at the same time. And how that's kind of enabled is there's, separate bird feeders. There's separate dice. There's, the eggs, that kind of stuff. There's some commonality there. Jamie mentioned, like a common discard pile. But in any case, it's a really clever way that, by having 2 people playing simultaneously, and I'm trying to bring up the image to kind of try and, in my head, I want to make sure I didn't give you any bad information there. There are a couple of, the image that's shown in the rule book, and Jamie's posted it on the Facebook page, that kind of shows like what a 7-player layout even looks like. Very cool. You're still competing with everyone at the table for the end around goals. However, maybe you're only competing with either a group of 3 or a group of 4 for the different bird cards that are on the bird tray, or for the bonus cards that are kind of split up and set aside. But, one of the things that I really like about, what we see here is, now I haven't confirmed this or anything, but like, the components say that there are, new bonus cards. And I have to imagine that because the whole idea of this expansion was to have this standalone gameplay, these percentages are probably like right on with what we're used to seeing in the percentages that we see on the bonuses in the base game, etc., because you would want those to be applicable. It also makes it easier. You know, some people are like, hey, the very first time I play an expansion, I want to play with just those new birds. Well, I mean, this is ideal for that situation. There's 90 new bird cards, and I'll show you those when I'm able, but next weekend. But for me, it's such a nice, compact, solution there. Like, I'm thinking in terms of like my son who's at college, and this might be something that he would play with his girlfriend, but wouldn't necessarily have a need for full-blown wingspan, and especially in dorms, spaces is at a premium, that this is a cool way for him to have Wingspan available to play for him and his girlfriend, and not have to necessarily have the full bundle. He can certainly have that when they come home, or when he comes home, or they come home, and we want to set it up on the table, we can do that. But flock mode, duet mode, it hasn't been introduced necessarily without any kind of blowback, if you will. There's been a few comments to the extent of, well, I never play 2 players, or I never play 6 or 7. This stuff's just going to sit in my box. It's not going to do anything. What's the point? I understand to a regard. Most of my games are probably played 2 player. We haven't been given an Automo rulebook yet, but Jamie did share his graphic that kind of breaks down the expansion. And in the background, one of those pictures, we see a new card that looks to be associated with Automa, so that, even if you don't play 2 player, if you play solo, you have another mode to try there, presumably, at least based on that image. There could be something tied in to another mode, or that card could have been, not necessarily a part of things that are a part of this. I have to imagine they are, without, giving too much away. But I guess I would say to those people that are, saying, I don't need 2 more boards, I don't need another set of dice, I don't need, a new starting player token, or more food tokens, or more eggs, like that type of thing. I understand, because I'm not in a situation where I have, 6 or 7 players coming to the table, but, some people do. And like I said, 2 player actually works for me, but I can understand if it doesn't work for you. I think the important thing to remember is, not everything is for us, right? I can't imagine that even though it's standalone, that it's going to be the same cost of Wingspan. I can't see that. So it's going to have I'm going to imagine, and this is total speculation. Let me emphasize that, because I literally promise you, I have no idea what this is going to cost. But, certainly, if you're not going to play in 2-player mode, or you're not going to play the 6 or 7 player flock mode, certainly there's some stuff in this box that's not for you, and I empathize, I do. But just like any expansion, we're getting 90 new bird cards. I did see someone attribute the fact that this stuff is in the box along with 90 bird cards, attributed it to something shady going on. And I don't understand that line of thinking. It's not shady. There are people that legitimately want this duet mode. I'm one of them. I cannot wait to play that. Cannot wait to play that. And then the flock mode, that part for me is almost certainly going to sit in the box, in the nesting box there, and I'll probably never ever get a chance to play it, and that's fine. I can play Wingspan, no biggie. But yeah, I guess it is one of those situations where it's like, if you can if you can control yourself, don't yuck someone else's yum. I mean, I understand there's situations where maybe you as a decent human being should do that, but in the case of a board game expansion or even a standalone 2-player game, maybe that's one of those things that we can give a pass to, and even if it's not 100% for you, and it's not 100% for me based on how I play, I'm still very excited about Wingspan Asia, and I hope you are too. But another thing. So one of the questions that's come up is, does this work with the other expansions, or does this duet mode, is it only for Wingspan Asia? And no, it works with all the other different cards. There is some note in the rule book, how to address Nectar. And, had I reread over the rule book before I started this conversation, maybe I could tell you all about it, but I didn't. So here we are. It is what it is. But in any case, it is compatible with the other expansions. And in the event of flock mode, someone said, hey, so flock mode, if we're playing with Oceania, how do we accommodate the fact that you only give us one more set of dice? If we have 5 dice over here and 5 dice over here, how do we do it? Well, one of the variants that we've heard from people all along who want to play Oceania but think that Nectar is too powerful is they tend to split up the dice and say, hey, I play with 3 of the regular dice and 2 of Oceania, or vice versa. And what this is when you are playing Flock and you are playing with Oceania, 3 of the dice will go to one group, 2 will go to another, and that is how that'll play out. I don't remember whether or not there's a certain instruction where, like, hey, the party of just 3 gets the 3, or the party of 4 gets the 3. But in any case, there are plans or not plans, they do accommodate the other expansions. And if you haven't caught the design diaries, Jamie's been sharing those a little bit. We know that Jamie likes to do his experimentation, and how he does his rollouts. And this one having the rule book introduced first has given people a lot more information, so they're asking a lot more specific questions, and that's cool. So anyway, the design diaries, we are learning about things that we kind of already know in the rulebook. However, not a lot of the background, how did Duet come to be? How did Flock come to be? That type of thing. So the design diaries are still very interesting. Jamie says he's going to keep at it all weekend long. I don't know if that means Saturday and Sunday or just Saturday or what that necessarily looks like, but I do recommend, if you are enjoying Wingspan, that you check those out. Before I say bye, the latest Stonemaier Games e-newsletter, we got a new progress chart, and we got a new codename Bone. Now, it could be an archaeologist game, it could be a Halloween game, it could be a human anatomy game. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people suspected a bird game would take off, certainly Elizabeth, but I didn't. So maybe a human anatomy game is the next big Wingspan. I don't know. But Codename Bone is our new code name, and obviously very early in the stages there, but very cool to see another one. And I think there was probably other progress. I would assume Codename Draw had seen some progress, because I think based on what we're seeing on the chart, that's the next one to come out next year. And so I think that was originally slated for 2023, so I think we're going to start seeing those things. If they haven't already started turning green, I think we're going to see that in short order. But yeah, that is all I have for you this week. What I am thinking here, I'm just going to start thinking this out loud, because I guess I would like your feedback a little bit. If I'm being completely honest with y'all, some weeks, I've talked about this before, are harder than others, and there's a lot of good stuff to talk about right now, so I'm super excited to do so. But it's also getting tiring. and so what I'm thinking I'm going to do is, I'm thinking in December. Originally I was thinking I'm just going to take the month off. I'm just going to rest and relax and and recharge the batteries, and that's fine. I was thinking I would do that, but I got to thinking, we got a whole bunch of cool stuff coming up, like we're, early into October here, and, we got Wingspan to talk about. I am still waiting to get my copy of Smitten. We're going to have some stuff there to talk about. I'm still waiting for my Rolling Realms promo, so those are going to come. I was thinking maybe in the month of December we'll go ahead and do some playthroughs of Rolling Realms, and if that sounds cool, let me know. And I'm thinking, because I am kind of taking a break, that we'll probably just do kind of one Saturday release game, game 1.1 or 2.1, and then the next Saturday 2.2. Kind of a relaxed schedule for you guys too, because I know some people like to play along, and that would go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a relaxed schedule too. So that's what I'm currently thinking. If you have any ideas for maybe what you'd like to see in the month of December, then that's something I got in mind. I am thinking of a couple of Wingspan Asia videos and some Smitten videos, and yeah, I think it's going to be a fun way to close out the end of the year. But let me know what you think in the comments, and along with that, in the comments, let me know if you have been following the Wingspan Asia Design Diaries. If you've seen something already that's got you excited, Jamie's mentioned that one of his favorite new mechanics is that there's the inclusion of these push your luck birds, and there's examples of those in the rule book. I think there were 2 of them that were called out to me that you can go open up the PDF and kind of zoom in and get an idea of. So hey, there's still new stuff to be found here, and still more design diaries to come. So yeah, that is much longer than I thought I was going to have to talk to you about. But sometimes you sit down in front of the camera and you start talking to your friends, and you're just like, man, the time flew, and here we are again. So yeah, it was good to be back. Good to talk to you. Next week is, like I said, is going to be the unboxing, so you can see everything that's inside. I'm going to show you the box that it actually arrived in, because I'm telling you, Stonemeyer, Greater Than Games, Panda, whoever packaged this, did a fantastic job. Like, you always worry about corners. You're worried about, like, what the box is going to look like inside. I'm going to show you how that ships next week, and I will also be in St. Louis for Design Day. So if you're there, say hi. And if you're not going to be there, if there's something in particular you want to see, or you want me to ask someone, let me know. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks for watching.